Hello, everyone. John Henderson here, Beer and TV Ramble, looking at Old English 800. Bow, bow, bow. Introduced in 1964. At the time, it was viewed as um, the Ruff's Old English Stout, and of course, they changed the name over the years to make it a high gravity, specialty lager, if you will. 5.9%. Some places have it 6.6%. Guess if you want to round it off. This beer was owned by Pabst at one point, and then Miller bought it, bought the beer around that time in the around the mid '90s or so. They bought the beer, so got my little screen. I'm watching some baseball games, but anyhow, this beer gets no love on none of the beer sites. Beer Advocate says it's awful. The brothers give an awful score as well. I have mine in the freezer, as you can see. I'm not going to consume much of it. See, the foam is kind of growing. I'll keep it closed in. Well, as you can see, I had a lot of foam. Got a lot of foam here on it, and I had it in the freezer for a while. 1999, around the late 90s, they were bought out by Miller. Miller also has a couple other malt liquors. They have on their staple Ice House Edge and Steel Reserve and Mickey's as well. Mickey's Ice and of course Steel Reserve 6.1 and the 8% and the triple export. And you have OE with their other brands out there, which you got the High Gravity, which everybody knows about, and you got the West Coast version of their High Gravity. And I even have another beer that is about 3.2% ABV, which has to be the worst tasting thing known to man. I haven't tried it, but 3.2% is probably not great. So, anyhow, OE, while they get dissed by many in the beer community, it is revered by the those those who are judging at some of these beer competitions like the World Beer Cup or Great American Beer Festival, where they seem to like OE and praise it a lot. They've won several awards, silver medals, gold medals, bronze medals for their specialty competition. Um, I know the line. Um, some don't particularly care. Some think what these guys are smoking. Why we praise this? This is trash. But they must know what they're talking about if they're going to give them medals, and which even surprised me. Again, as I mentioned on some of the other videos that I've reviewed, ones dealing with malt liquor, I dissed it. I didn't really care for it. I thought they were, when I got past that stage, I've had this before, but when I got past that stage in the when I had this in high school. Sampled this, of course, is around the '90s. You get a little sip. People can hook you up. But anyhow, once I got in the around the late '90s, around 2000s or so, I began to, go to the Buds and the Bud Lights and the Coors and the Miller Genuine Draft. Those beers that were kind of easy and that were tame versus the malt liquors. I just kind of swore off them and thought like, I ain't gonna drink those. But guess my attitude has changed. I don't consume them every day. And I tell folks, believe me, malt liquor should be special occasions. All that's just me. If you want to have them every day, go right ahead. But again, there's a special occasion kind of beers to have. Monday, end of the work week, or a Saturday evening thing. Special occasion if you're having friends coming over, even if it's your birthday, special occasion thing. You know, and because I mean these beers do pack a punch, and while this one here is a 6%, is 6% still, you want to have it in, kind of light. Even Mickey's same thing, kind of light. You still want to, you know, be on your p's and q's when you drink these. And then when you go further up and even go up to the 8%, and you definitely want to be on your p's and q's because those beers will put you on your ass. But anyhow, corn, typical smell, corn syrup, more corn than anything. Very pungent. You can smell it immediately. So again, typical, quite a little easier versus the other high gravity stuff. And again, I don't get this in the Alabama area. Very rarely you don't find it, period, at all. Of in terms of malt liquors, and I've mentioned in other videos, we get here, we get Mickey's, of course, the 5.6. We get Colt 45. We get Steel Reserve, the 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 8%. And you got the Steel Reserves flavored stuff, which is like I'm not going to even bother to touch at all. No. And Ice House Edge, you can get that too. Um, but you don't get the other. You don't get other beer. You don't get the other style malt liquors. The Schlitz or the OE high gravity. I mentioned Hurricane too. We also have Hurricane as well, the high gravity version here in the state. That's what I know of here. That what we get in this area, and then maybe the entire state. I could be wrong. Maybe they do sell Old English. Maybe northern Alabama. Maybe somewhere in that Alabama Georgia line. Somewhere. Um, but so. 6% is pretty tame. It's not rough. Like you can tolerate it. You can stomach it and tolerate it pretty easily. What's going on? I've had some chips. I've been nibbling here, watching the baseball game here, the Mets and Cubs. Um, it ain't bad. It's not the greatest thing, but again, easier. The high gravity, I have a much appreciation for that one. I think that's a lot smoother, not as rough compared to the Steel Reserve and or the Schlitz VSL, which I did a review of, and that was a rough, very sweet beer. So I just didn't bother to try that. So anyhow, of course, Miller is very not ashamed, nor is Pabst, the brewery, with their malt liquor line. As I mentioned, the line with Miller, what they have of malt liquors. Pabst, of course, Colt 45, Schlitz, the Schlitz, OML, VSL, the Red Bull, and the Bull Ice. You got those four. I mentioned Colt 45. St. Ides, another malt liquor they tout. So they're not ashamed of not ashamed of really saying, hey, we love our shame admitting that they love malt liquor. Of course, Anheuser-Busch InBev, they're just not, let's say, yeah, yeah, we malt liquor, yeah, yeah. With Hurricane and King Cobra, they do in Spikes, but which is kind of more of a flavor thing. But those two I mentioned, King Cobra and Hurricane, which are pretty good. To get the high gravity Hurricane is pretty good too. Anheuser-Busch kind of likes to, we don't talk about it. So for whatever the reason. Uh, any event. Score of 1 to 10 for Old English 800. I will give this a solid 8. Um, I like it. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but I do like it. I think it's a very good malt, and it's not overpowering, but again, it's not something I have every day because I don't get it here. And I'm not going to be making those travels to Mississippi and getting this unless I'm on a job or if I'm visiting somebody coming back from the airport. I'll stop and pick one of these up, but or my friends kind of talk me into doing going down there and get one of these. Then yeah, but yeah, it's a decent malt. Nothing negative to say about it. Again, it won a lot of gold, won a lot of medals. It's very well made, and you know, hats off to Moore for making this malt. But anyhow, enough rambling. What the channel is for. John Anderson Pierre, the Beer and TV Ramble, telling you to keep watching and cheers.